welcome to Just Start, Get Visible, your go-to resource of the journey to becoming more visible in a way that feels right for you. Hey there, and welcome to episode 257. We are 257 episodes into Just Start, Get Visible, and we are continuing on our train of further diving into a conversation around retirement and transitions, which we started back on episode number 254 with a riveting conversation with Marc Baker. If you did not see that episode, it is very much worth going back to, and you can watch it, of course, at jacquelineandbaker.com/254. We talked all about Marc's retirement. He retired exactly at the age of 50, and what that looked like, what it looked like leading up to it, but more importantly, the things that he put in place to make retirement enjoyable versus making it this hard transition that a lot of people experience because they haven't put these things in place that they're comfortable with, that become a natural integration into their life versus being something that they have to adjust to and get used to overall. So we're going to continue with our final episode for April, and it's all focused on defining a life that you actually enjoy, with the significant focus on the word joy, okay? Retirement and transition, maybe even breaks, gives us more of something that most people think they want more of, which is time. But here's the real question that I ask you to consider. Do you actually know what to do with it? Right? Because having time is one thing, but knowing what brings you joy is a completely different thing. And we might think that, oh, I'm just going to sit around and do whatever I want to do, until all you can do is sit around and do whatever you want to do. And you're like, wait a minute, like, what am I actually filling these buckets of time with? So in this episode, we're building upon the conversation that I had with Marc a couple episodes back and his intentional retirement journey, focused on powerful but often overlooked questions around what actually brings you joy and how can you incorporate those things into your life now to ensure that it's just a transition. It's just more of that if you want it to be when you have more time in retirement or more time in transition. And I keep saying time in retirement or transition because some of us might be thinking, you know what, I need to go on a bit of a pause from where I'm at in my work right now. And maybe I'm not fully ready to retire, but I need to have a block of time to think, to plan, to whatever. And so it could be retirement or it could be transition. Okay. I want you to focus on not just what looks good, not just what sounds productive, because perhaps you've been spending so many decades of your life being productive, not just what you've been told to enjoy, but what genuinely energizes you, like what for real energizes you, what grounds you, what makes your life feel meaningful. And to really give yourself permission to think about that, because retirement and transition, it creates space, but without clarity, that space can quickly become filled with default habits that we really don't want to be default habits, distractions, or even restlessness that ends up being boredom, that ends up being us getting a job, which we said, in many cases, we didn't want to get another job. So instead of drifting into retirement or the transition in the next phase of your life, I want you to use this episode to challenge you to design it, anchored in a clear understanding of what joy looks like for you, okay? Joy is not something to stumble into. It's something that you define. It's something that you prioritize. And it's something that you design your life around. And I want to make sure that you can do that, okay? So the first thing I want you to consider is that there's a difference between pleasure and happiness and joy. Okay. Pleasure is usually this short-term thing, right? It's short-term, it's external. A lot of times it's entertainment based. It's rooted in consumption. It's hidden in quick hits. And there's a place in our life for pleasure, but let's go deeper. There's a place in our life for happiness as well. Happiness is our emotional state that is often tied to pleasure and often tied to joy, right? But it's also tied to circumstances. But joy in itself is deeper. It is much more sustaining. It's connected to meaning and value for us. It feels aligned and is absolutely connected to presence, the presence that you're giving to a certain space or place or thing. And so I want you to think about what brings you joy. If you think about the difference between pleasure and happiness and joy, as I just talked about a second ago, Are you giving yourself the opportunity to have pleasure pauses? And when I say pleasure pause, it's an intentional pause. So you're just like, you know what? I deserve pleasure. Like just a pause for pleasure. I enjoy happiness, but happiness does fluctuate. But if we really think deeper, joy anchors us. Joy anchors us in the people that we want to spend time with. Joy anchors us in the activities that we want to spend time with. And joy anchors us in the impact that we have the opportunity to have on other people. And so when we think about happiness versus pleasure versus joy, I have one question to ask you overall. And that is, what activities leave you feeling restored and not just distracted? And answering that question can actually help you to understand what truly brings you joy. Because you might be thinking, okay, I'm ready to have a transition in my life. I'm ready to actually venture towards retirement. However, I don't know what brings me joy. So I don't know what to start thinking about right now so that I can carry that forward when I have more time into my life. So what activities leave you feeling restored and not just distracted from the things that perhaps you don't think that are important to you or you have high value around, okay? I also want you to think about this as it relates to creating intentional joy. What did I enjoy is often such a hard question to answer, right? And the reason why is because many of us have had years of structured work that conditions us to prioritize output over experience. And so it's often hard, like as I was just talking about joy a second ago, it's often hard to even answer the question, what did I enjoy? Because we've been conditioned to produce. Many people also haven't explored new interests in decades. Think about the last time you explored a new interest. I have this commitment to trying a new sport every single year. And that is a hack that I have for my life to make sure that I am trying new things. I am getting comfortably uncomfortable because I don't want to be just stuck. It also is a hack for me to meet new people as well. So many of us haven't explored new hobbies or interests in years because life has been lifing. We've been working, we've been taking care of families, babies that aren't ours. But the reality is a lot of us haven't explored new things in a while, which is why joy is often hard to even think about. As I talked about in the previous episode to this one, our identity is often tied to roles, to responsibilities, and to productivity. And we often, and I'll say I absolutely am someone who's faced this over time, there's this fear that we have of wasting time on things that don't produce results, right? Have you ever sat down to watch something or read something and you felt guilty because you're like, wait a minute, this isn't producing anything. Like, what am I accomplishing here? And so answering the question, what did I enjoy, is often hard to answer. However, it makes me want to prompt you with this question, and even more importantly, this statement that I just want you to sit with. If your life has been all about what's required, it makes sense that joy feels unfamiliar because you've been doing what's required to get from here to there, but not pausing and thinking like, what truly brings me joy? So as I'm saying all these things today, I don't say them punitively. I mentioned this in episode 256. I'm not saying them to chastise. I'm actually saying, like, I understand how we ended up here, how we ended up in this place of do. However, there's an opportunity for you to rediscover joy after a structured life. And let's talk about what that could look like. I want you to start with curiosity, not pressure, like just to be curious. The only reason why I try these new sports every year is to stay curious, to stay flexible, not this pressure of I gotta win, I gotta become an expert, because it's many things that I've never done again after trying them out for, half a year, a quarter, 3/4 of a year, a full year. So I want you to start with curiosity, not pressure. I want you to revisit past interests. I've mentioned that before, but our past interests were past interests for a minute. Like, what did you truly enjoy before life got busy? What were you into? And is it time and an opportunity for you to revisit those things? I want you to pay attention to moments of energy and not just skill or achievement. Like the moments when you're like, oh, I feel refreshed, even at times when it doesn't make sense, because those things are things that are probably bringing you joy and that are filling you up versus depleting you. And this one should not be a surprise at all. I want you to give yourself permission to try things without committing long term, like I do with trying a new sport every single year. And why is that? It is because I can test. What do I like? What don't I like? And it is okay for us to try things without us becoming an expert at them, because you learn what you like, what you don't like, and you actually get a chance to meet new people. All right. Now, I do want to give you something a little bit further. I'm going to give you what we like to call the joy blueprint, because the joy blueprint is your opportunity to be very intentional in designing something, right? Which is what we're after doing in this episode overall, that you can come back to. All right. So I want you to, instead of leaving your days open-ended, like when you have a free day to maybe explore, I want you to create a little bit of a loose structure. All right. Not a full-fledged, stressful structure, but a loose structure on what brings you joy. All right. So you may be pulled to creative joy, writing, building, cooking. You might be pulled to physical joy, which is movement, nature, activity. You might be pulled to relational joy, time with people who energize you, who actually bring that bright light out of you. You leave them and you feel just energized. You might be pulled to quiet joy, which is a reflection, which also is reading or stillness. And you might be pulled to contribution joy. That's mentoring, volunteering, giving back overall. All right. I want you to, in all of these instances, right? I want you to just notice what brings you energy in any of those spaces. I want you to organize your time, right? Let go of just feeling like you nilly-willy doing stuff during this joy blueprint experiment. I want you to organize your time intentionally to create space for these particular things. I want you to yield to it, let go of guilt, and allow joy to be enough. Not like, oh my gosh, like I didn't win, I didn't accomplish. But can you let go and let productivity like not succumb and not make you feel like, oh my gosh, like if I'm not doing this at the absolute best, then I'm not accomplishing. So I want you to give yourself the opportunity to go on that little experiment there of seeing, am I moved by creative joy, physical joy, relational joy, quiet joy, contribution joy, mentoring, volunteering, etc. And I want you to use the blueprint, which actually spells out joy. Just notice, organize your time, and also yield to it. Let go of the guilt. Okay. Give that an experimental time, right? Whether you try that over a week, 2 weeks, or a quarter, so that you can start to really nail down like what truly brings me joy. I want you to give yourself permission to start to experiment so that when these transitions and changes in your life come to be, that they're not a big shock. You've actually already experimented with and discovered the things that bring you joy. Okay, so let's do a quick wrap up here. First, I want us to be clear about pleasure versus happiness versus joy, right? And I want us to experiment in each of those three areas, but knowing that joy is deeper, it's more sustaining. I want you to reflect on why. Like, why answering the question, what did I enjoy, is so hard to answer. And it's because we do so many structured things that are rooted in output and rooted in consumption. But if your life has been all about what's been required, it makes sense that joy feels unfamiliar, right? I want you to rediscover joy after a structured life, right? Start with curiosity, revisit your past hobbies, pay attention to moments of energy and things that actually build you up. And I want you to go on a bit of an experiment with designing your joy blueprint. What of the areas, or which of the areas, creative joy, physical joy, relational joy, which of those really stand out to you? And how can you spend more time truly noticing it, organizing your time around it, and yielding to it, letting go, and just enjoying it overall? Listen, I hope that you've enjoyed this entire month, all rooted in the wonderful things that we discussed back in episode number 254 with Marc Baker. I hope that wherever you're at in the world, that you're safe, you're healthy, and you're well. I'm hoping that you'll go back to episode 254, 55, 56, right, and 57 to ensure that you utilize this entire series as an opportunity to identify joy for your life, and to figure out where do you want to design a well put together blueprint of different pockets of joy for you, so that retirement or when other transitions of your life come to be, you're not lost. You're just doing more of what you know already brings you joy. All right. I hope that you're safe, healthy, and well. And I certainly hope that you're giving yourself permission to start the things that you want to do and get visible in a way that feels right for you. I'll see you again soon. Take care of yourself, and ciao.
Welcome to Just Start, Get Visible, your go-to resource of the journey to becoming more visible in a way that feels right for you.